I don't think this app has the best functionality for that. Ideally, I would like to see this calorie range a little bit higher. Some of these bugs were actually blocking me from using it. I spent months researching the science of effective fat loss, meticulously meal planning, and figuring out how to lose fat while protecting my mental and physical health. The nutrition aspect of fat loss was incredibly time consuming, and I know that we are all busy people. What if there's a way to simplify the process of finding healthy meals that taste good and help us reach our goals? For the next 24 hours, I will be putting EvolveYou app recipes, meal plans, and calorie recommendations to the test. For those of you that are interested in fat loss and considering buying a subscription to EvolveYou, I will be breaking it down for you in this video. Quick yogurt thoughts before I head to the gym. It was really good. I mean, it wasn't anything super special. I like to do really simple stuff for breakfast, so I chose a simple recipe on purpose. I will say the lime in the Greek yogurt was very delicious and something I definitely will be trying again. It was simple, quick, easy. It was very tasty. About to head off to the gym to get an upper body day in. I also had a sneaky coffee. I'm going off script a little bit here, but I have a coffee every day. It's my favorite part of the morning. I love the caffeine, so. I'm back from the gym. I was about to make my post-workout smoothie. I am so hungry and I realized that my pumpkin puree is frozen solid and it's in a plastic bag, so I can't microwave it to thaw it. So I'm gonna run it under some hot water and see what we can do, but I might have to do lunch before my post-workout because I'm so starving and I cannot wait for this to thaw. Pumpkin pie flavored, just for the occasion. Okay, this smoothie really surprised me. I'm not normally someone who likes smoothies very much. They're like okay, but I'm not usually wowed by a smoothie. But honestly, I was really wowed by this. And maybe it's that it's like the weather is changing and it's starting to really feel like fall. Honestly, this tastes so amazing. It got really fluffy, really thick. That's exactly how I like my smoothies. I was worried about the turmeric, but I couldn't really taste it at all. Honestly, it kind of blended in with the pumpkin spice. This smoothie gets a 10. I will definitely be making this again. I thought it was gonna be weird, but the Greek yogurt's kind of good. I don't think I can rank this too highly, but the Greek yogurt is creative. I give it like a 7.
No, it doesn't even feel like there's really Greek yogurt.
I know, you can barely tell.
It's really just PB&J, so
right.
9 out of 10.
Dinner was really tasty. This is a meal that I've had something very similar to and is one of my kind of like classic rotation items. It's simple, it's healthy, it's higher in protein for a vegetarian meal, but certainly not enough for me to hit my goals, so I'm probably gonna have a protein shake for dessert. I'm supposed to make healthy cookie dough for dessert, but I'm honestly so tired of cleaning. The cooking isn't that bad, but the amount of dishes I've had to do today is insane. I think the reason for that is that I didn't really prep most of this. I was making every item individually when normally I would try to at least do some food prep where I like chop up veggies and things like that to make things a little bit simpler on myself. I still have so many dishes to do downstairs. I'll be back tomorrow with a detailed review of the nutrition section of the app and whether or not I think these recipes would be good for fat loss if that's something you're interested in. I will see you tomorrow. I posted a review of the entire EvolveYou app a couple months ago, and I did touch on nutrition, but today I wanted to focus on it specifically through the lens of fat loss and whether or not it can help you achieve that goal. The nutrition part of the EvolveYou app is a big differentiator in this space because a lot of fitness apps at similar price points don't have the nutrition and recipe aspect. Or when they do have recipes, there often aren't very many, or maybe there aren't very many depending on your dietary restriction, and they don't have anywhere near as much functionality as EvolveYou does. I just want to say, since I last used this app, they've added a ton of recipes, new functionality, and the nutrition part of the app looks a lot better, so that was really cool to see. At the time of my previous review, I felt like the vegetarian recipes were lacking a little bit, and a lot of them were simple things like avocado toast or smoothies. Right now, there's a lot more variety and a lot more interesting stuff compared to the last time that I had this app. First things first, you need to know that I am a vegetarian and a very picky eater, so I'm quite difficult to please when it comes to recipes. They have lots of different dietary restriction options, and you add them to your profile rather than applying them as a filter every time you look for a recipe. I really like that once you add that to your profile, every single recipe you see after that will fit your dietary restrictions. Let's talk about fat loss. Calorie counting is complicated. I did an entire video about how imprecise calorie counting really is, and if you're interested in learning more, I'll link it down below. A lot of factors impact how much we actually absorb from our food, and it's really difficult to count calories precisely. At the core of it, food is energy, and when we have excess energy, we store it as fat in case we need to use it in the future. And when we don't have enough energy, we pull from our fat stores to make up for a lack of what we're having in our food. To lose fat, we need to be using more energy than we consume. The evidence shows us that a 10 to 20% reduction in calories is a really good place to aim for a few reasons. The metaphor I like to use to explain this is sneaking up on the body rather than startling it. This is because our bodies love homeostasis, or remaining balanced, remaining the same. Your body probably doesn't want you to lose too much fat because it will probably start to get concerned that you might starve. If we come on too strong and cut our calories in half out of nowhere, our body's gonna try really hard to maintain homeostasis. Your body can shut down other things to try and conserve energy. Like for example, a lot of women that have a really low body fat percentage will actually stop getting their period. But if we sneak up on our body by making a really subtle reduction in calories over a several month period, it won't freak out. It won't even see us coming. So we have a few options for this. The first is to keep your exercise the same and reduce the amount of food that you're eating. The next is to keep your food the same, but increase the amount of energy you're expending from exercise by exercising more or more intensely. The last option is a mix of both, which is what I personally like to go for because I don't like solely relying on being perfect at my exercise routine or perfect with my food. I like to have a little bit of leeway with each of them. The evidence shows us that a really important factor is adherence. So making it something that you can actually stick to for the long term and making it sustainable. So I punched in my height, weight, activity level, and my goal of weight loss, although I wish that the app had a fat loss option because I definitely do not want to lose muscle here. My goal is just to lose fat. And the EvolveYou app spit out a calorie recommendation for me, which was between 1,400 and 1,800 calories per day. At a first glance, that felt really low. I wanted to break this down and compare this recommendation to other ones that I've found and discuss the evidence behind it. My total daily energy expenditure, or the amount of calories that my body needs to do all of its daily basic functioning as well as my exercise and activity, was estimated at an average of 2,200, and I used several different calculators and took the average of that. So reducing that by 20%, which is at the higher end of that recommended 10 to 20% range that I talked about earlier, would be 1,760 calories per day, which is at the upper end of EvolveYou's recommendation. The middle of the EvolveYou recommendation would be about a 28% reduction in calories, and at the lower end of EvolveYou's recommendation, it would be a 37% decrease in calories, which is pretty significant. I have a few concerns about the 1,400 calorie figure that they listed in that range. One of the important considerations during fat loss is muscle preservation, which is a combination of eating enough food as well as making sure you're having enough protein and stimulating those muscles by continuing resistance training at that base level. I'm fairly certain that if I suddenly one day started eating only 1,400 calories when my maintenance is about 2,200, would certainly freak my body out, and I think it's really possible that I would start holding on to fat because of that, which is definitely not what I want to do. And I also just feel like there's legitimately no way that I could maintain 1,400 calories a day in the long term while still enjoying my life and enjoying foods that I love. Ideally, I would like to see this calorie range a little bit higher, but I'm not sure how exactly they're doing that calculation. I would be interested to know more if that's something they were willing to share. But at the upper end of that calorie range at 1,800 calories, I think is super reasonable. Let's talk about some of the app's functionality. First thing is the shopping list. So essentially you can add meals to your meal planner, and then it will auto-generate for that week a shopping list that has all of the ingredients that you would need to make those meals, which is super, super cool and could in theory save you a lot of time. I love this concept, but unfortunately the execution leaves a little bit to be desired. You guys know I'm basically a QA tester at this point. If there is a bug in one of these apps I'm reviewing, I will find it and I will tell you about it. The same ingredient isn't combined together. So for example, if I have two separate recipes that use tomatoes will appear twice on the shopping list if the ingredient has a specification of how it's going to be prepared, like tomatoes diced, then that will also be listed separately. The biggest issue with the shopping list was that it only showed you the current week and you could not not go to a previous or future week. If you're like me and you like to do your shopping on Sunday for your meals on Monday through the following week, this doesn't really work for you because you can't see the list for the current week until the Monday of that week. I love that you can add your own items to the shopping list, but they go into their own section at the bottom that says like items you added, and you can't move them to the appropriate section. So one thing I really loved about the shopping list is that it had sections like dairy and grains and vegetables and fruit. All of the like items are grouped together. I wish that when you added your own items, you could drag them around to add them to the appropriate sections, but that's a minor thing. Another concept I really love is the meal plan, how you can add all of your meals to every day of the week. Unfortunately, it had so many bugs, at least when I was using this, maybe not everyone had this experience, but it had so many bugs, it was unusable for me, honestly. At the time of filming, I did check that the app was up to date and I restarted it several times to see if that was the issue, and unfortunately, it was still happening. The biggest problem was that it adds stuff to the wrong day. I thought it was consistently adding to a previous day, but there were also times it was adding to a future day. So I would add a recipe and then have to scroll around within the week to figure out where it went. So when I was trying to fill in the full week, it was just kind of difficult because I had to keep jumping around and recipes were going to the wrong places. I also had issues with deleting recipes from my meal plan. There were some times it was just like, nope, we're not deleting this. And I would try like 5 or 6 times and it was sticking around. Sometimes when I left the app and came back, my changes wouldn't save. And I also was having issues with duplicating the plan across multiple days where the duplication was not going to the days that I clicked. It was going to previous days. One thing I love about the meal plan is that having an easy tool to plan all of your meals and recipes and have the macros and calories counted for you is really, really convenient. I do wish that it showed you your total macros for the day. It only shows you your total calories for the day and it sums each of the recipes you've added to your planner. This is a functionality I really love, although for me, because I'm such a picky eater, it probably won't be that useful. I think it's such a cool idea. There's a button called Do It For Me in the meal planner where you can actually have them auto fill in the recipes based on your dietary restrictions, and it seems like also based on your calorie range for the day. So I'm not certain that it takes into account your calorie range, but every time that I calculated it, it was within my range. So I'm pretty sure that's what they have in the back end. I think a lot of people will love this and find it really useful because one of the hardest things about meal planning is picking everything you're gonna have. So I love the idea of just at the press of a button, it's all right there for you. Another thing you can do in the app is create your own recipes or customize existing recipes. So if you want to add an ingredient, remove an ingredient, change the quantities, you can do that, and you can also create all of your own recipes. I noticed that it wouldn't let me exit and save the recipe unless I added a photo, prep time, cook time, methods, and ingredients. I was trying to add a really simple meal that I didn't really want to put in all the details, so I do wish it would let me save it without adding all of those details, but I don't think it's a huge deal. It's really convenient that all of the recipes that you've customized and favorited have their own separate sections so you can easily find stuff to add to your planner. I love how the recipes are detailed with prep time, cook time, photos, you have all the ingredients and quantities, and the method how to prepare it. I love that for each recipe you can opt for a lighter, medium, or heavier version of the meal, which automatically will adjust the quantities. Saves you a lot of time calculating. I love that you can add your own ingredients and save them within the app. So if there's anything the app doesn't already have, which I looked through and there are a ton of ingredients, like basically anything you can think of, but if there is something that the app doesn't have, you can add it yourself. You just have to manually enter all of the nutrition information, the calories, macros, etc. One thing to consider though, the ingredients are generic and not specific brands. So for example, they might have pita chips, but they wouldn't have Stacy's pita chips or Trader Joe's pita chips. It's kind of more of a rough estimate than a really precise calculation because the macros and calories can differ so much with the different brands that you're using. In case you're wanting to use this as a calorie tracker, just some things to keep in mind. Calories and macronutrients are the only stats shown. So if you're interested in any micronutrients, then you won't be able to see those within the app. You can also only add 5 items per day: breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, and a post-workout. You can choose whatever you want for those meals as far as I understand, but I'm someone who has a lot of snacks, so that wouldn't really work for the way that I eat in the day. If you're someone who's like eating standardly 5 times a day, then this could probably work for you. I would probably think of this more as like recipes and inspiration, but if you're strictly counting calories or macros, I don't think this app has the best functionality for that. But I love that there are tons of healthy, simple recipe ideas right there in the app, and that they do have that calorie and macro information available. So yesterday I tested eating only EvolveYou recipes for 24 hours, and I was really surprised by how much I liked the recipes. I don't have a lot of free time to be cooking, and I don't love cooking, so I specifically chose recipes that were relatively simple. I would say overall the app does seem to focus on simpler recipes, which I really like because I think a lot of people don't want to spend a lot of time cooking and cleaning. So because it doesn't automatically calculate macros for the day, I added everything up. So yesterday when I was eating only EvolveYou app recipes, I had 70 grams of fat, 201 grams of carbs, and 67 grams of protein. The fat was right on par with what I normally do. It was really the protein where I was lacking yesterday. I normally try to shoot for about 100 grams of protein. 67 is quite far off from that goal. Overall, the day was pretty carb heavy, which is something I see a lot when I'm looking at vegetarian recipes. That's personally why I like to use protein powders, protein bars, and just try to eat any protein-rich foods that I can find. Oftentimes that looks like protein-enriched foods. Like there are these protein bagels that I've been really enjoying. I get protein chips. I try to add protein to my desserts. Like anywhere I can, I try to sneak it in. So some final thoughts. It's really cool to see how far the app has come in just a few months since I was last using it. Almost every app that we use has bugs, so I really don't fault them for that. And I was poking around in their app reviews on the App Store, and they seem to be really responsive to bugs, and they take that feedback in and try to improve the app. So I have no concern that they will try to address these things once they know about them. Normally bugs don't bother me that much and I can usually work around them, but the problem is some of these bugs, especially within the meal planner, were actually blocking me from using it. I spent like 45 minutes trying to get a meal planner together for the week. If they were able to resolve some of those bugs, which I'm sure they will, I would really, really love the meal planner. I share this just so that you're aware as a potential customer, and so that EvolveYou is aware if they end up watching this and they can kind of go after those bugs and fix them. As I kind of discussed in my previous review, I think the workout section of the app is where it really shines, but I love to see that they're adding and investing more in the nutrition side of things, because I think that's an area where people are really underserved and it's quite difficult and time consuming to find healthy, tasty foods. And I'm excited to see all this new functionality like the meal planner, the do it for me, and the shopping list. I think you could use this app for fat loss. If I was using this app for fat loss, I would be monitoring my protein closely, and I would also be at the higher end of their recommended calorie range with an understanding that 1400 calories for my lifestyle, activity level, my total daily energy expenditure, it's just too low for sustainable, slow, healthy fat loss that is actually going to last. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Just leave me a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, the best way to support my channel is to give this video a like if you enjoyed it and hit subscribe if you would like to see more from me. I will see you next time.